Hi, something a little bit different today. I'm going to create my first video about autism. And today I'm going to focus on facial blindness in autism. So I was diagnosed with autism a few months ago, but obviously it's something that I've had since I was born because that's the way it is. I don't see it as a disorder. I see it as something that is fantastic, really. But it does make life hard in a neurotypical world. So today I want to talk about facial blindness and how that plays out, and also how the world can be more neurodiversity affirming in terms of people with facial blindness. So over a third of autistic people experience facial blindness. In an autistic culture, maybe making eye contact or looking at someone's face when you're talking would be considered rude. For me, it often takes so much effort to return someone's gaze in a conversation that it limits how much attention I can pay to what they are saying. So if I'm looking away from you, I'm probably listening to you better than if I was looking at you. Often, if I'm forced to look at someone or make eye contact with someone whilst they're talking to me, a big part of my brain is churning to try and keep that eye contact, or to find somewhere on their face or near their face that I don't feel too threatened by looking at, because it's a big surge of chemicals and just adrenaline to look at somebody's face. I wonder whether this overload also switches off my brain's ability to receive and recognize faces and remember them. How does this play out? How does this affect me in the real world? Well, people often talk to me as though I should know who they are. I may have been speaking to them half an hour earlier in a different setting, but I can't recognize them. This can make it really hard for me to have a two-way conversation, and I end up looking rude or self-absorbed, and I'm not. I just don't know who you are. Likewise, there are times where I don't know whether I'm repeating myself to the same person, which can make me really self-conscious. There was a time, I've just come back from a festival where, there were quite a few incidents of my facial blindness really getting in the way. And so there was this woman that I'd been speaking to quite a bit. She had short hair and glasses. And I'd spoken to her about my son's autism. I went inside the shed, not too far, to a theatre play, and there was another woman with short hair and glasses. I still don't know whether they're the same woman or not, but my son was getting quite into this puppet show that they were putting on, and I was trying to tell this woman that he has autism. He can't differentiate between whether this is real or a play. Like he thinks it's all very real. So I was attacking this echidna that was one of the puppets because it was bullying the Malifaux. Anyway, so I didn't know whether she was exactly the same woman that I'd been speaking to outside or not, whether she was a different woman. So me going, oh yeah, look, he's got autism, he finds it hard to differentiate. I don't know whether I'd already had a conversation with her outside about that, which, it sort of makes me really quite self-conscious because I'm sounding like a broken record. Or I could be telling someone this information for the first time and it's really crucial to their understanding of what's going on. Regulating what I'm saying and to whom is impossible. Like, if I don't know who you are, I can't regulate whether I'm treating you as a friend, a colleague, or whatever. I don't know. sometimes I'll be really interested in talking to someone, and this actually happened at the festival that I was at. But I have no idea that I'm talking to them, so I can't have the conversation with them that I want to have with them. So I was speaking to this woman for maybe an hour before I went, look, I'm really sorry, but who are you? And she told me. And then I was like, wow, I really want to talk to you. Like, there's so many things I want to ask you and talk to you about. But before that, it was just like, I've got to try and make polite conversation at this dinner with the person who's sitting next to me, but I can't contextualize who she is. So I couldn't have that conversation that I really wanted to have with her. And I'm sure that sometimes walking down the street, if I notice someone and they're not in context, I look at them as though I feel like I should know you, but I just can't place who you are. And I probably end up giving them a greasy or something like that, just trying to rack in my brain, who are you? So, yeah. How can the world be more neurodiversity affirming for people with facial blindness? I often recognise people by distinctive hair, clothing, jewellery. So I suppose if you're going to be around someone who is autistic, maybe think about whether you can develop some sort of a distinctive style or wear, chunky, colourful necklace, like my son's support worker does, Yeah, like, is there something that you can uniformly do that's, not going to be too out there for you? You've got to be comfortable with it. But, something that they can recognise you by and go, okay, that's who that is. And just recognise you like that. The same way a neurotypical person would see someone's face and go, okay, I know who that is. Yeah, it would make the world a much more comfortable place where we are more easily able to navigate personalities in it if something like that was thought about by people, I suppose. Likewise, I used to get quite upset when my ex-partner would shave off his facial hair. And it's interesting thinking about whether that might be to do with facial blindness, because I do take so much notice of people's hair. There was a time at this festival I've just been at where I noticed a guy who I've never met before. I've got him on Facebook, but it was the back of his head as to why I knew who he was. Just the shape of the back of a bald head. Likewise, there was a woman who I'd met once before in a completely different context, but she has such thick, wavy hair that I knew who she was. Yeah. So I suppose, like, maybe the thing is that we're not looking at the faces. We're looking around the faces when you talk to us, because it is such so much adrenaline for us to be looking at your face. We're looking around it, and the face ultimately has a lot more detail in it for people to be able to identify you by. That if you are able to push that out into the area around your face, we're going to know who you are. Likewise, a distinctive dress style might be something to think about. Yeah, so with the looking at people's faces thing, I actually have the best conversations sitting shotgun in a car where we're both looking at the road, travelling side by side, and I'm not threatened by that adrenaline rush of looking at someone's face. So, yeah, I suppose, like, It's really not a rude thing. It doesn't mean that we're not friendly if we don't make eye contact with you. They're like, yeah, there's some things in our culture that really need to change, I think, for um, our world to be more neurodiversity affirming. It was some of the worksheets coming home from my son's kindergarten that the way you know that someone is friendly is if they make eye contact with you and smile. Well, autistic people can be friendly, and we probably won't make eye contact with you and smile. I'm sorry. And if you do meet an autistic person outside of your usual context, or if they're having trouble or trying to figure out who you are, introduce yourself. Um, yeah, remind them how they know you, who you are, and you'll probably get a much warmer response than if they're ticking in their brain and trying to figure out who you are so that they can have the conversation with you that they want to have with you. Um, yeah. I hope that helps. Bye.